Over the past week, he's assailed President Joe Biden's handling of Afghanistan. He said that he could end the almost year-long conflict in Ukraine within 24 hours, but without any indication how, and suggested sending tanks to the country could spark nuclear war. He's railed against China and called Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a globalist. Those close to Trump's campaign operations say he plans to try and paint himself as an anti-war dove amongst the hawks. They believe doing so will resonate with GOP voters who are divided on but growing wary of continued support for Ukraine and its war with Russia. One source said Trump is the peace president, and he's the first president in 2 generations to not start a war. Whereas if you look at DeSantis's congressional record, he's voted for more engagement and more military engagement overseas. Every Republican running is going to be opposed to critical race theory. That's true. Every Republican running is going to say we need to secure the border and we need to oppose amnesty. That's true. Every Republican running is for lower taxes and less regulation. That's definitely true. It makes sense for Trump to drag the race to where his opponents don't want to be. First of all, I'm going to defy that only president in a generation to not start a war. I feel like you're missing a couple. They continued them, I guess, but so did Trump, as we'll get into.
Yep.
But anyway, this is a strategy that is at least about something. So Francesca, is this a good direction for him to take the primary? And what do you think about him attempting to pitch himself as the peace candidate?
I have so many thoughts. First of all, Politico is saying that he's the peace candidate and basically regurgitating what a source told them rather than saying, no, he's a violent war hawk, but isolationist candidate, meaning if I do invade, I want to kill everyone dead. If we do invade Iraq, we should have just taken all the oil, right? Like there is no more veneer of any kind of diplomacy or peace building or whatever you make of that veneer on American imperialism. For Trump, it's like it's all gone. If you're going to invade, you just send tanks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it's all BS. So we have to remember Trump increased drone strikes by 400%, right? We weren't reporting on them. We weren't talking about them. There's so many other things going on. I mean, TYT did, I remember doing a story on it, but like the idea that Trump is actually an isolationist is utter crap. The thing I wanna say, and the thing that makes me more mad is what this shows about the Democrats, because the Democrats are unable to capitalize on what is wildly popular, not just among their own party, not just among progressives farther to the left of them, but all people, which is stop invading other countries. We should use those resources in the United States. And it's not on some xenophobia and it's not on some like, we don't wanna help other people. It is on some, look, how $2 trillion, $3 trillion of debt that the Bush administration, 8 years of Bush and 2+ wars gave us. And the only person still talking about forever wars is Tulsi Gabbard. Stop it, stop it. You should own up to the fact that Obama won his election. Why? Obviously, he had incredible credentials and was far more of a dynamic personality than Hillary Clinton. But Hillary Clinton voted for the war in Iraq.
Yeah.
And Obama openly said he was gonna end it. So anyway, I'm just tired of Democrats not owning the peace lane when it is there for the taking.
Yeah, and there are people like Bernie who that's how they run, but when most don't, they leave it to people like Trump or Tulsi to like co-opt that language when in reality, sure, they might in theory be against it's such a specific thing. Starting new forever wars, continuing, it's fine. You'll notice that Trump left us in all the ones we were already in. And in fact, in what we were reading you, one of the ways he's pitching himself as an anti-war dove is he's mad at Biden for taking us out of a war, which seems a little bit inconsistent. Look, I think it's complex and I hate the stuff that's happened in Afghanistan since we pulled out. It was hardly surprising that it happened, but Biden did at least pull us out of it. Trump continued all of the wars and as we'll get to, started a whole bunch of other stuff. So you leave it to these people who are effectively using the idea of peace in one particular area as a grift that hides tons of lies when it comes to the wars that they've continued. And so I wanna remind you of a few of these. I mean, sure, we continued all of the wars we were already in under Donald Trump. It's weird that the peace candidate would do that, but he vetoed a measure to force an end to US involvement in the Yemen war. So he not only continued the wars that we were involved in, he wanted us to be involved in the wars of other countries. Very peaceful behavior there. As Francesca alluded to, drone strikes under Donald Trump far exceeded Obama's numbers. Also, he changed the rules on drone strikes, so like he didn't even have to report the actual deaths anymore, because they were so high, he didn't want any accountability for it. And so, like, if anyone in the mainstream media allows him to present himself as the peace candidate, when they loved bathing in the blood of people abroad. They just didn't technically invade new countries. They did all of the other stuff. They're fine with torture, they're fine with drone strikes, they're fine with helping other countries brutalize their neighbors. They're fine with all of that. That may be something, but it sure ain't peace. Okay, so let's make sure that the media has it right. And we should be very critical, as Francesca was, of people like Biden and other establishment Democrats not running on this. But we should also be credited of people who, without understanding any of the context that we're talking about here, talk about what Trump doing is being legitimately outflanking the left. Now, I get that rhetorically he's trying to outflank the left, but if you buy into it, you're as vapid as Politico.
Yes, and just like, also don't get it twisted. Last thing, if Trump were president right now, more Ukrainians would die. More Ukrainians than have already died. And the situation is sticky. I'm not saying you issue a blank check forever and ever and ever to Ukraine, but believe that the bloodshed would have been far, 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 far worse.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.